It's our first ever Board of Trustees and Superior Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors dinner. We have dinners with all of our boards and commissions, and the HOA, and the fire department, so it just kind of only makes sense that we have dinner with the Superior Chamber of Commerce. So welcome, all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Clint Folsom, I'm the mayor, and also a chamber member and owner of Folsom Company Real Estate.
I'm Mark Blasis, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm Barbara James, and I'm a volunteer board member on the chamber.
Hi.
Superior resident.
Hi, I'm Laura Skrzynski. I'm on the Board of Trustees.
I'm Kevin Ryan, also on the Board of Trustees. Thanks for coming in.
Ken Lish, Board of Trustees.
Neil Shaw, Board of Trustees, and also a chamber member.
Dennis Fife on the board.
New member.
New member.
Say your companies too.
Yeah, I'm a health insurance broker with Health Markets.
I'm Weston Bauer. I'm the owner of Aspen Management, and I'm on the Board of Directors for the chamber.
Ted Dorr, I'm on the board of directors as well. I own Double Sourdough Pizzeria and Tap House. Thanks for having us.
I'm Carrie Nash. I'm with SWBC Mortgage. We do residential lending for houses, and I am on the chamber board and been a chamber member since the day it opened.
Sheila Clemenson. I am a chamber ambassador, and I'm a member also. I have a career coaching business with the Superior Chamber.
Andrew Rhodes, I own Smile Logic, and I'm a board member and current president of the Superior Chamber Board.
Oh, me. I'm TJ Sullivan. I'm the executive director of the Superior Chamber, started in January, so month 10.
Great.
And I'm Sandy Hamill. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees and also a chamber member.
All right, welcome all. So our format tonight, we don't have a set agenda of things to talk about. We certainly a lot to talk about, but we'll just let it kind of be a free-flowing discussion. And maybe have TJ kind of kick it off with some updates from his first 10 months on the job. And just for timing purposes, we'll need to wrap up in about an hour and 5 minutes or so. We need to take the tables down, push them to the back of the room, and kind of get the room set up for the regular board meeting. We've got we've got 2 advisory committee interviews, which just take a few minutes, but that's kind of the end of our work session. But we kind of want to get into meeting format for that purpose. So, all right, with that, TJ.
Thank you. So I began on January 10th, succeeding the position from Heather Craycraft, who was the executive director for 12 years, Superior resident, a bit of a local legend. And so when she went on to a position at CU Athletics, the board kicked into overdrive to try to hire somebody to handle that transition. The 3 big things that the executive committee told me during the hiring process was the 3 priorities were to grow the chamber, to professionalize the chamber in terms of operations and more technology and those sorts of things, and also to increase the perceived value among the members. Those were the 3 biggest things. I remember asking, how will I know at the end of the year if I have been successful in the position, and they said those are the 3 things. So those have been my guiding beacons for the last year. In terms of growth, things are going really great. We're right at 250 members. We had to do a little trimming of some folks that were technically members but hadn't paid in a couple years and were sort of being floated for a while. So we cleared that out, and 250 is a very solid number, and that's 48 new members since January. So about 20% of our members have joined since January, which is pretty great. Event attendance is booming. We had 9 sources of revenue within the chamber that were not membership related, and 7 of those were operating at break even or a little bit underneath financially, sort of a cost of doing business type of setup, and we now have all 9 in the positive. So all 9 out of 9 are revenue positive, which has been really, really great. having 100% staff turnover was certainly, I would say, a challenge that we had to deal with this year. Having Heather leave, me take over, and then Tricia leaving right after a couple months later, and hiring Carol. So it's a whole new staff, but things have been going pretty well. In terms of professionalizing, we've really tried to beef up the social media. We're now texting people about events. We are cleaned up the database. We're doing a lot of things around communication to try to beef things up. We've totally done an overhaul with the current format of the website, so everything's current, those kind of things. So, and then in terms of perceived value, it's really hard to know until you have your first round of renewals, and that's coming up in December and January. So we'll know more about that when we see the renewal rate. Typical chamber renewal rates are somewhere between 80 and 90% renewal. So we're hoping to beat that, and that's kind of where we are on that. But things are good. We've been doing 2 to 3 ribbon cuttings a month, which is exciting. I was just over at Office Depot today, and the manager said, I've heard good things about the chamber, and Office Depot wants to be a member of the chamber. And I was like, oh my God, that never happens. The big chain stores never join the chamber. So I thought that was really cool. That was just from today. So it feels like the buzz is good, and people are excited. We're really trying to beef up the educational offerings of the chamber. We're trying to strengthen the leads groups. All the infrastructure type of stuff has been our focus this year. But things are going really, really well. So been doing a lot in terms of trying to help the chamber have a voice at the regional level. We've been doing a lot of work with the Northwest Chamber Alliance, which is the group that includes Longmont, Broomfield, Lafayette, Louisville, Boulder chambers, and the Latino Chamber of Boulder County. Being at the table with them, we just had a strategic planning session with them, and good things are happening around workforce development, workforce housing, a lot of the issues that are really the top issues for the region in terms of promoting business. And we are serving on the Boulder Regional Development Partnership, trying to help make sure that all the chambers are working together in the various parts of Boulder County to promote the county as a good destination for business and for people to work. And obviously with the unemployment rate is very, very low up here. I know that's not news to you. So there's a lot of concern about how we can make this a place that people can afford to work too. So doing a lot of that sort of thing. So that's what our focus has been in the last 10 months. It's been a lot of work, but things are going really well. We've had outstanding volunteer involvement. Our volunteer roster is booming in terms of all the positions are filled. We're now moving to the next level where we're trying to bring in more committees. We're going to establish a community affairs committee in 2020 so we can actually do more of the stuff that chambers are doing these days around convening and getting involved in local issues of interest to the business community, which is a little bit of new territory for the chamber. The board recently had its retreat, and one of its major priorities is to do not a survey, but actual interviews with as many of our members as possible to find out what they want, how we can help them, how we can strengthen their businesses, and so forth. So the board is very committed to being very hands-on and very engaged with the members, which I find really exciting because you don't always find that. So, especially on chamber boards, a lot of times on chamber boards you have folks that just show up for the meeting and vote, and then you never hear from them again. Our folks really want to get in the trenches and talk to our members and find out how to help them and then direct their efforts toward that. So I find that really exciting. So that's pretty much what I have to report. So happy to answer questions, and I will try to let the board answer more questions. So.
I have just kind of 2 general questions about the composition of the chamber membership. Number 1, if you have an idea as to what the percentages are of Superior-based businesses versus businesses that are outside of Superior. And then second, with respect to just all the businesses in general, what sorts of businesses are you dealing with generally? Are they retail? Are they service-based? And if you have an idea as to like what the split is amongst the entire chamber membership.
I'll do the first part first. So based on some feedback from some chamber conferences I've attended, they say, first thing you do is go find out how many business licenses you have in your municipality, and then compared to that, you should be somewhere in that zone. And there's 220 active business licenses in Superior from the last stat I could get from the staff. And so we're at 250. So we're at the right, we're in the range of, we're in the healthy range. Of those, 90 of the members have a Superior mailing address. But there's a whole lot. It's really difficult to say, well, okay, like Heidi Howard, for example, one of our most active members, lives in Superior, located her business in Louisville. So that's hard. We have 23 of our members that are right on Colton Road and technically have a Broomfield mailing address. So it's, and then I didn't even have time to count the ones on the other side of McCaslin that are members. So I'd say there's probably 18 to 20 over there too, that are members of both Louisville and us. So it's a little difficult, but in terms of Superior addresses, 90 out of 250.
And if I could just add, please, Mark, while there are businesses that may not have a Superior address, they might be businesses that serve Superior, such as Excel Energy, and you have to take that into account.
Well, following up on that same question, so interesting, we have, what did you say, 220 licenses in Superior business, which I never heard, right? So of those 220, how many are members of the chamber?
I haven't done the cross-reference.
What would your guess be?
Out of those 220, well, the 90 that we have with the Superior address, if they don't have a license, then they would not be compliant, I guess, right? So I suppose we would say 90 out of the 220, but I just kind of went on that assumption that if they're based in Superior and they're in business enough to be a member of the chamber that they have a business license. But that might not be true for some home-based folks. I don't know what the enforcement level is on that, so I don't know. I also want to mention, Mark, like for example, downtown Superior, the Ranch Capital folks, downtown Superior, they have a San Diego mailing address. They're clearly very here. So it's really difficult. When I came on, the number was that 70% of the chamber members were located somehow outside of Superior. I don't think it's that high. I think it's more about it. It's probably a little bit more than 50% are based somewhere in Louisville, Lafayette, that sort of thing. If you included Louisville, that would be two-thirds of our members are located here or Louisville. So in the 80027.
And I would assume that, people would typically have some sort of connection to the Superior community to want to be members of the chamber, right? Whether they live here, or the business is based here, or they're close enough, it would be, I would assume more the exception than the norm to have just somebody who's an Arvada resident with an Arvada business that has just decided that it would be beneficial for them to join the chamber. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but that would seem to be more of an exception rather than the norm.
Can you talk to that, Dennis?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an Erie resident, and my office is in Erie, and I'm a health insurance broker. But I work all over the state. I work in several states. I want to build my business in Erie, Superior, Louisville, Lafayette. I want to, I kind of bookended it. So that's really why I wanted to get involved and be a part of the Superior Chamber, because A, it was smaller, it was going to be a more personal experience, and I could get involved in a more meaningful way more quickly. So that's why I chose to be a part of the Superior Chamber and have found, it's just a great community, and I haven't regretted the decision once.
I can dovetail on that, Weston Bauer. So my business wouldn't exist without the Superior Chamber of Commerce, or at least it wouldn't exist in its current iteration. We manage real estate, so we're property managers. We manage a number of homes that are in the Rock Creek community, so right here in the home base. I lived in Rock Creek for 5 years as well. I don't currently live here, and my business is currently based out of Broomfield. However, when we add properties, we have a filing numerical system that goes 1 to hopefully, thousands and thousands at some point. But our numerical system denotes when we sign up our properties. Our first 18 properties are referrals that we receive directly from involvement in the Superior Chamber of Commerce. So for me, it's been an integral part of being able to build a livelihood from moving out of state. And as a result, I've been on the board of directors now since, I don't know, 8 years, a long time. And it's been a real value to sew back into that community and that group. So I find it to be, for this type of industry, for insurance, those are the kind of industries that sort of transcend boundaries. And I think that involvement makes a huge difference. Plus, Superior Chamber has been, when I first moved to this area, I went to Superior Chamber, Fairfield, and Boulder. And of those three, this is where the open arms were.
Do you want to say anything as someone who? So,
Yeah.
Angie's the president of the board, business technically in Broomfield. And where the heck do you live now?
Thornton.
Thornton.
Yeah, so I purchased a business, and the business had started off in the storage tech facility. So it was originally, I guess it's considered Louisville up there, but 88, so on the boundary of Superior. When I bought over the business, the original owner had been a member of the chamber. She's like, you gotta just keep going and go to the leads group. And so I was kind of grandfathered in, which is good. I'm a clinician first, and so not knowing anything about business, being put into a business group and into a leads group, I was able to find some mentors. So Carrie Weston, Ernie Galani, I had a whole bunch of people that, Karen Geiger, that I was able to go to and say, I don't know what I'm doing. And because I'm right on that border now of Broomfield, Superior, I'm right across from the mall. I have a lot of patients that are in Superior that come to me because of their location, and a lot because they work for Oracle, which used to be Storage Tech. So I think everything just kind of overlaps, so. And for me, I joined Broomfield when I first started, and it was when they were huge at first, and you'd go and no one would talk to you, and it was kind of just overwhelming, so.
What was the second part of your question?
If you had an idea as to what the breakdown is for like types of businesses, services versus retail versus what have you.
I'd say we're service heavy.
Service heavy, for sure, and then home-based would be the two biggest categories. Retail, because as you go around town and you identify locally owned businesses, a higher percentage of those, but obviously Whole Foods not necessarily are not members, Target not a member. So it really breaks down in the retail sector by chains or locally owned, so the locally owned more. But I would definitely say service, your realtors, your orthodontists, your chiropractors are definitely the largest group.
I actually went into your website because I was curious what your breakdown of members is. And believe it or not, and I thought it was sort of confusing, the largest category they have is government, educational, individual, and I suspect that might be a lot of, and this, I took this right off your, the tool that assigns them. And so I'm assuming that part of it may be because you have individuals that are in there. But then the second largest group was business and professional services, which is exactly what you thought. And then the third largest was personal services and care. Sort of what I would have expected for the town of Superior, because we have a lot of small businesses. So I was curious because I didn't really know. So
Sounds right.
yeah, but your website does have a wealth of information if you just want to know sort of who our members are, and I found it extremely valuable.
And while I live in Superior, my company is here, what I do is so esoteric. I don't get any business out of the chamber. That's not why I belong to the chamber. It's a great place for small businesses to know that they're not alone and to find their community and to find support. And it's a very open and loving community and a place where I've decided I've given back generously with my hours and pro bono work to other small businesses, because to me it's amazing that I'm so successful in my small business, and if I can help someone else out, that's, and that's part of the chamber is putting your hand out there and one everyone else up, and we try really hard to do that. So it's not all about, do I make money out of this? There's so many other things that the chamber offers.
It also plays to the ethic of wanting to spend your money locally too. So some of our members are members because they want the accountant who's a member of the chamber. They want a lawyer. They want a dog walker that's a local person. So you find as many people that are spending money with them, they become members of the chamber because they want to spend their money with people they have relationships with, as well as wanting to get money from customers. So I hear that a lot. So.
Sheila, you mentioned
Oh,
in the
that's-
introduction, you mentioned you were ambassador. Maybe tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about what that is and what you do.
Yeah, I'm a new ambassador and I've been loving it. I joined the chamber a year ago. And as a career coach, having a career coaching business, you think, okay, being a part of a small business group, how many people am I going to be, how many clients am I going to be serving? The interesting thing is that this chamber has helped me build my reputation and my credibility as a career coach and as a professional. A lot of my clients are Superior residents, which is really awesome. But, that was kind of my, drive to connect with the chamber. But as I joined the chamber and a leads group, I love the members, and I just think that everybody, they're professional, they're a team. We all work to help each other build our businesses, and it's just been really great from that perspective. As an ambassador, it's me giving back to the community, connecting with the community, and, being seen in the community as a reputable resource for them.
I don't know about you guys, but do you guys listen to podcasts? I listen to them all the time. I'm in the car all the time. And so along this chamber line thing, one of the guys that I listened to, he said, if you're not in your business narrowing in onto who your audience is, and he said, and for Pete's sake, I don't know why you wouldn't be a member of the chamber. And it was, that got my attention because I think that's Superior. I lived in Superior for 19 years, and this community is, I'll live and breathe it till the day I die, just because the kids were raised here. You get to know people so well, and the chamber, although I wasn't involved probably the first 10 years because I was so busy with the boys, what it has provided later on is really interesting. And it is that community, because where we moved, we don't have that community. We don't have that sense of, you belong, so to speak. And when you go to a chamber event, you feel like you belong because you're seeing people that you know and that you want to help. And one of the things that I would like to see, and I try to talk to as many people as I can at Chili Fest, we get a lot of people that come up to our booth at Chili Fest that are, I've always thought about having a business, but I didn't know how to start it. Or, those individuals that live in their homes that say, I just don't know how to do it, like what Sheila was saying. I said, we've got groups for that. We can help you. And that's kind of a personal mission of mine, is just trying to get the word out there that whether you're a big business or you're a small business, and especially the small ones, we'd love to, have you under our arms and help you and give you those business ideas and give you those support people. And I think that's the beauty of this particular chamber, is that it will encompass their arms around you and say, Dennis, what do you need? You came in, you didn't know anybody. Now look at all the people. It's awesome what it does for the community. And if we could have a little bit more of an outreach, like I said, Chili Fest, we're talking as much as we possibly can, but we get a lot of people up there, don't you think, Ange? I do. Yeah, so, anyway.
So right now we don't have a kind of a free-flowing agenda. I mean, we don't have a specific agenda, it's just a conversation. From my sense, I think if we were taking everybody's pulse around the value of the chamber, I think both the chamber members and the town board would say we're all directionally supportive of the Chamber of Commerce. I don't want to do it, but I think everybody sees the value, and it's great, and we all have ways that we're networking amongst our colleagues, whether or not it's professional affiliations or the town board or town committees or the Chamber of Commerce or wherever. And if this enables that networking, I think it's fantastic. I think it's, so for me, I think there's a few things that I'm looking to hear from today. Number one, when I hear about TJ's goals, directions, top three, which I think as I heard them, it was, grow the membership, kind of stabilize and make it a more mature organization, and then add value to the members. Roughly, do I have this?
Yeah, you did nail it.
So, I think one of the things we need to do is think about the value. One of the things that we think about as a board, bringing value to the community, whether or not they're, whether or not you voted for us or not, we're still trying to bring value to the community. And so I think that's maybe a fourth thing that we might want to think about for the chamber. And I know obviously you're hugely, and I think you guys are knocking it out of the park with a lot of things, with your participation in Chili Fest and some of the other committees. And so I think that's great. We just might want to highlight that the chamber isn't there just for the chamber members. The chamber is there for the community. And I think if we spend a few minutes tonight talking about what that means. Second, there's a request for money, right? And that's, I just want to put that on the table. I don't think this is nice, and it's nice to meet you all, but I don't think we would be having this if there wasn't a immediate request for additional funding from the town. And so I want to make sure that we don't spend the next 38 minutes and we don't talk about the elephant in the room. So I'll be the guy that talks about the elephant in the room. Third, I want to talk about taking money out of the equation. What could we, since I think directionally everybody thinks Chamber of Commerce is a great organization, and this community and others, we want to support it. What could we, absent money, do to help the Chamber of Commerce with growing your membership, with increasing your footprint, with adding additional value to the community? How can we help, both financially and potentially non-financially? And so those are the things I wanted to highlight. Again, to summarize, number one, let's think about what the Chamber does for the community as sort of a fourth priority beyond your top three. Or two, the request for additional funding is there, so I want to make sure we obviously can't take action this evening, but let's talk about it. And then third, what else can we do outside of the financials?
So can I speak to number 3 first off? Broomfield Chamber, they peaked, and then they had a lot of turnover, had membership drop, and now they've regrouped and they're growing. And so when I talked to one of their board members, I said, what, because I follow their page, and I'm like, how do you guys have these new members every day? Like, welcome this new member, this new member. And they said, whenever someone comes into the town or the city and they're talking to the people in the town, the first thing the town says is like, we hope that you will look at our Chamber of Commerce. So they're kind of driving each other back and forth into, if someone's new to the chamber, like you should get to know your town, or if the town's saying you should get to know your chamber. So I think just having that overlap where we're saying, yeah, we support one another, and, I think that's just a simple way of because people don't even know sometimes that the chamber even exists, or like, what is the chamber versus,
And if you would keep us abreast of the companies that you're speaking with that are considering being part of the Superior community, then we would be able to connect with them and say, hey, we hear you're looking at Superior. Let's talk. Let us tell you about Superior. And we can be part of your courting and wooing process. And it helps both of us.
I think the reality on that is that a significant portion of your members are going to be home-based businesses. We're not wooing home-based businesses. We're fortunate that they're moving our community and they choose to set up shop because it's a wonderful community, but there's no wooing. There are 2 to 5 businesses a year that we're actively courting through our business development activity or friends of friends or however, and I think that's a good point for those. And I made up the number 2 to 5. I don't know how many there are, but there's a handful that throughout the year that we get wind that this hotel is looking at Superior or whatever.
I think though, to Barbara's point, I think there's probably more we can try to do to connect the chamber with those businesses. I remember when we had the owners of Goldfish Swim come in, and they said that a big part of why they chose to come to Superior is because of the chamber. So to me, that speaks very highly to the chamber's success in drawing businesses in. I'd like to see what we can do to try to get them in the loop sooner. Recognizing sometimes, of course, there's confidentiality concerns, but the more we can connect those dots, I think the better it is for everyone.
My 2 ways I'm trying to do that right now, and it's just in the very infancy stages, are working with Adam Hughes at Better City, your economic development contractor. We talk on a regular basis. Monthly meetings with Matt where we sit and talk about what's coming up, who's looking at what. I mean, Matt is wonderful in terms of sharing information with me about what might be coming down the pike and that sort of thing, which is really, really valuable. And then also, and this is the one that needs the most work, is starting to work with the folks who are going to start leasing spaces over at Downtown Superior. We want to make sure that when they're talking up the possibility of coming to Superior to locate a business, whatever that business is, that they know that we exist and that we're there to help them and at some point, perhaps we'll be able to be enough of a trusted partner with them to be able to contribute to that process. And that has not yet happened, but that's one of our goals for 2020.
TJ, have you been introduced to Bill Jenks and the folks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
just making
in
sure.
fact, he and I had a nice 45-minute conversation on his way up here last time for
Great.
the meeting. So yeah, no, he and I know have a good rapport. So to the extent that, I don't think right now we're having much of an impact on what he's trying to achieve.
Right.
But he is a member, and they are currently looking at upgrading their membership to a more significant membership. We're talking to them about that, and I hope that happens. It's one
Great.
of my fingers crossed things. So,
Okay, that's-
Kevin, on what you were asking about, what is the value to the community, and I anticipated that would come up tonight. So I tried to write down a few of the things in 10 months that I feel like we've been able to do. We have a really close relationship with the pros staff, your park staff, between the events and even promoting the different programs they're doing. Kevin Cologne and I are right now working on something for the Youth Leadership Council to put together a job fair and career development fair in the spring. So we're starting to do that. So we've worked with the Historical Commission in terms of promoting their sports stable project. I believe they had two people signed up to sponsor those, and now they're close to 10 or 12 since we helped promote that through a mailing and different things. So we've been looking for the different groups in town to try to inject and help where we can in terms of connection to the business community. Assistance to Better City. When the morning after the contract was extended to Better City, I drove Adam around and said, let me tell you what I've learned in 6 months here. And spent 2 hours with him talking about the different areas. He didn't know where Colton was when they got that contract. So tried to help with that and be part of that. He's come to our board and talked scholarships and internships for local high school students. We have that going on. Like I said, the regional representation to the various groups, and then just the community that we're creating for professionals. I think those are the biggest things that came to my mind.
Talk a little bit more about the job fair, please.
So it was the youth council, that was their idea. And so Kevin suggested that they partner with the chamber to do that. I'm going to their meeting in November to brainstorm with them what could happen. Kevin wants me to definitely present it as, okay, we want to make this a win for the young people, but we also want to make this a win for the businesses. So how can we figure out what the businesses want? He wants it to be a leadership development experience as well as pulling off an event.
And do you see this as something that would only be available to the chamber members, or so for example, I assume Chick-fil-A is not a chamber?
They are a member, yeah. They're actually a top member.
So how about, the proposed Burger King? Give me
Freddy's, no.
Freddy's, right. So if Freddy's chooses to have a booth, that they would be able to participate?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We would, I think, probably in terms of the first people to sign up and rally behind it would probably be the chamber members, but then we would have it open. And we're talking about, with them about trying to also differentiate between those potential employers that will hire the critical 16 to 18-year-old population that is really difficult for them to find jobs right now, because so many businesses only hire 18 and above. So we're going to make sure that's part of what we're talking about too. So it's wide open. There's nothing more than an idea at this point, but we're signed on to help if we can. So.
Is the chamber still doing the bag drops?
Yes, in fact, we're doing one next week. 28 businesses.
And then do you also do the drops for new residents?
Yes. So we have two, those are actually two of our biggest benefits that we offer. The rooftop drop. Every addressable house, not apartment in Superior gets a bag from us once a year. We do it a quarter of the town each quarter. And we get all of our members to put materials. We have a bag with all of our major sponsors on it, and then we have a local nonprofit. A local rugby group was one. Monarchs DECA is the one doing this one. They assemble it, they deliver it. We have a bunch of rules for them, like if they have a no soliciting sign, don't put it there. All these different things. But they deliver about 1,000 to 1,200 bags per quarter. And that's a great benefit for our members. And we put a letter in there saying it's important to shop Superior. It's important to choose where your money goes and try to choose local merchants, local vendors. So it's an awesome program. Then we also do new resident bags. We're averaging about 80 a month now. It's really spiked since a lot of these townhouses have gone online. So every time someone starts a new utility account, so it's new houses as well as new buyers of existing houses, they get a bag from us, same sort of thing that has members' stuff in it. And then we also occasionally put in other people we're trying to woo to join the chamber in there too, just to try to give them some exposure to the value of Superior customers. So.
I remember when I moved to Superior and we got that first bag that really made an impact. I was just like, oh, this is really, because there's a lot of interesting, helpful information about the town, trails maps, things like that, parks maps. I think that's just a really valuable service that the chamber provides, and it really, makes people feel welcome to the community. So I think that it's great that you guys do that, and would encourage you to continue.
The bag says "Welcome to Superior" on the side. It's definitely very welcome wagon.
Yeah.
Just a question. A lot of us have been elected in the last year, and we all kind of talked about trying to diversify the tax base for Superior, since it's heavily weighted towards retail and half a dozen retailers. And one of the things that's been patently obvious in the last 6 months is we started trying to do a better job of bringing in businesses. But what can the chamber and the town do better to retain businesses? Because we've had 4 businesses close their doors in the last 6 months, between 2 bike shops, small shops, a big box, Party City, and the restaurant across the street, all in the last, actually like 3 of these in the last 4 months. And I get it, there's macro trends at play, big box isn't succeeding anymore, but even the small businesses that you would hope would succeed here are still struggling. What are the things that we're doing wrong, or what are the things that we need to be doing better at? And how does the chamber help us with that?
I would say the town and the chamber are probably doing very well. It's trying to educate the business owners. I know one of the bike shops went out because he didn't pay his rent, but he was very generous in giving away free services, and it was because that's what he loved. He loved fixing bikes and stuff, but at the same time, he didn't have that business thing. So, maybe having more, when we have the capacity to do it, more new business, like, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Like workshops and stuff as, trying to do something.
Is it like an incubator?
Exactly.
Yeah, something like that.
It's hard to get those young ones, those new businesses to, that $250 that they have to spend for that membership, that's $250 they don't have, right? I mean, it's true. They're like, and TJ Jimmy, who the new sushi dude, TJ has put his arms around him. Like, we try to do that, but there's only so much we can do. So I think how we could partner together on that is we need help. There's the board tends to do, and our ambassadors, we do a lot, but to have, TJ has these incredible meetings, and they're called Small Business Mastermind. Amazing meetings. You would not believe the feedback that we have had from those. And it's TJ's brainchild. And one of those could be, are you new in business? Here are the steps. You need this, you need this, you need this. And we try to, get those accountants or those bookkeepers, can you give them a little love? Can you give them a discounted price? We have a lot of ideas. We just don't have the ability to do it all. But I think that would be first 3 years, right? Weston, all you guys know about your businesses, right? First 3 years are the toughest. If you could get some people that truly, if the town were behind you and the chamber, you're like, I think it would be knock it out of the park, but we just don't have that set up.
So I want us to get back to Kevin's point about the ask for funding, but just piggybacking off of Neil's question. So, one of the things that we've heard, though, from a number of businesses is that property taxes and sales taxes are, problems for businesses in terms of, retention and staying in business. So, to what extent is the membership voicing concerns about, is Superior not competitive with Broomfield, with Louisville, with other surrounding jurisdictions in terms of, what the property tax base is here? Are you hearing any complaints about that? And then in addition, are you hearing anything about kind of the sales taxes that people are forced to pay? This would be more applicable for the retail basis. And then once we answer that, let's get to the ask that Kevin suggested.
In 10 months, I've never heard a single person say anything at all about the tax. issues.
Sales or
Rents, nope.
Rent.
Rent is the number one, and the second is that there's, and I can't say I necessarily agree with this, but there's this feeling that Superior residents don't always choose to spend on Superior businesses. So there's a lot of talk sometimes about what, they ask us, what can you do to better encourage the residents of Superior to spend their money here, to shop at the Walgreens in Superior versus the Walgreens across the bridge on McCaslin, things like that. So those are,
It's Brookline Superior.
Yeah,
What's that?
It's in Brookline.
Is that Brookfield? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
That
bad
corner-
example,
that
sorry.
corner is-
But, that corner
Across the
confuses
street
me.
is
Sorry,
Walgreens.
all right, blew it on that one. But you know what I'm saying, in terms of how can we get them to spend money? And by the way, all four of those businesses that went under, not one of them was a chamber member at the time they went down. But several of them had been members 2 years ago or so. You almost wonder if sometimes if things are starting to get a little hard on the business, that if the chamber membership isn't one of the first things that goes. So I almost feel like we should provide you a list of those who don't renew.
So
And-
TJ, you said rent is an issue, and is the rent an issue because of the triple N in terms of the flow through of the taxes? Is that what's going up, or is it the rent on the building? I mean, because, obviously rent is both. It's the tax, assessed on the building along with whatever the landlord chooses to pay or charge. But, from what I've heard, our triple N is not insignificant.
Well, we only have
That's-
two real spaces, right? We have Superior Marketplace and we have the Safeway. So, I mean, there's not a lot of choice. And so they kind of have you where they want you because.
So we manage about 175,000 square feet of commercial space. And the triple nets are clobbering small businesses in the spaces. Now, we manage spaces in Broomfield, Lafayette, Boulder, Broomfield, and Lafayette. So we don't have anything in Superior that's a commercial space. But I can speak that is really hurting tenants. But in Superior, it's also accessibility to space. So there's not small business commercial space that is readily available. I mean, what's going on over there is going to help. I mean, so you guys are making tremendous strides towards that, and I think that's going to really help things moving forward. But it's accessibility for smaller businesses, and when I'm putting in the smaller business category, 12 and 15 employees and under, so very small businesses.
So getting back to Kevin's question about the ask.
Yeah, let's just talk about that for a few minutes. So for those that are watching at home, why don't you talk about kind of what the ask has been and sort of do a talk track over the email you sent us, please.
So the chamber has received $15,000 in support in a grant from the town. Actually, it breaks down for our purposes as a $3,000 platinum membership and then $12,000 grant, but a total of $15,000 a year. And as we have been exploring increasing our revenue from non-membership events, increasing our membership, and so forth, we just realized that it's really getting very, very difficult to remain competitive with the surrounding chambers. We're literally surrounded by larger chambers with more resources than us, Boulder, Broomfield, Lafayette, Louisville specifically. And then, when we identified areas that we really want to expand that would help the town of Superior and the chamber both, one of the obvious ones was our public-facing ability to communicate with people who either are members, want to relocate here, or who are just searching and researching Superior. Our website is out of date, and we frankly just don't have the staff capacity to keep up with the demands of electronic communication, social media, different things like that. So whereas other chambers have staff members who have that as a significant part of their job description, it's pretty much me and a half-time person, and we just can't keep up. So the communication, when we were talking with Adam from Better City in terms of economic development, and then of course with people like the Goldfish Swim School, people who said that they did their research and were looking at every municipality around, we know that these people are looking at the chamber website, they're looking at what we do, what we have, and frankly, we just look outdated. The chamber is committed to doing parts of that next year regardless of what happens with the ask. But to really bring it up to speed and to a place where we compare favorably to some of the other economic development behemoths surrounding us, we need to do it faster, and we need to get it up and going and have the capacity to maintain it in a professional way. So that's when we were looking at how can we do this. We just can't grow the membership fast enough to cover that need, and felt like that was a real Venn diagram crossover in terms of benefiting the town and benefiting the chamber both. So we've asked for 40,000 to go from 15 to 40,000, and that would represent, that increase from the town would represent less than around half to a little less than half of what we anticipate the cost to be to do that in a good way, in a quality way, rather than a piecemeal way. We can certainly throw $7,000 at the website if we want to, but in terms of trying to get the entire package to work and represent well, especially with downtown Superior coming online and all the economic development activity related to that, we feel like it's a more urgent need. So that's
So are you talking about the entire $25,000 additional being spent on your website?
No, we're anticipating that the website probably, we haven't even gotten bids or anything, so we don't really even know the full price, but based on what the data we've been able to get, it's somewhere between $7,500 and $10,000 probably for the redesign, and then of course there's maintenance and those sort of things. So to have a more current website, it can't just be static sitting there, the same thing on, in October that it was in July, which is kind of what we have now pretty much, unless we have an event up at the top of the page. So we want to be able to have the capacity to be able to keep that dynamic and current and what's going on, and having more of a newsworthy is the wrong word, more of a current dynamic element to it. So that plus we need staff capacity. We could redo a website, but if I'm still trying to squeeze it in 2 hours on a Thursday morning, among all the other things I have to do, it's just not going to be, it will not be a good use of the money. So we need some staff capacity, we need some help in terms of, we haven't figured out if that's going to be a part-time hire or if that's going to be an outsourced type of assistance situation. We didn't want to put the cart before the horse too much on that one, so, but we definitely will need help, especially when that happens. So.
I was the treasurer of the board for 6 years or so. I'm not currently. And first off, the town has been incredibly generous to us through the years, and we appreciate that immensely. I mean, the assistance you guys have given us as far as the physical space and the monetary support has been invaluable, and we appreciate that immensely. We just find ourselves in a position where we've got a lot of great ideas of things to do for our members, and we just simply can't. I mean, TJ's touched on a couple of them, but if we, it would take us probably 45 minutes to really scratch the surface of some of the things we'd really like to do to try to educate our members, support the community, support everybody who chooses to live, work, and play here. And our hands are a little bit tied. We are in this, we've been incredibly effective through the years, but we're in a bit of a rut in being able to go to that next step, because you're in a constant state of marketing and then continuing to do the events and services that you've done throughout the years, and there's just not another dollar or minute to add to expansion and offering more to our community and our community members. And that's really where the ask comes from a heart of wanting to do more for both our community and our community members.
And right now we lack the big fish. We don't have the Broomfield corporate members or the Boulder corporate members or even the Louisville corporate members who are doing the high-level memberships. Most of our high-level memberships are in-kind donations and other partnerships.
So what's an example? Who does Louisville or Boulder, who do they have in terms of their high-level memberships?
Okay, you got me on that.
Boulder just got Elevations Credit Union, the new German plumbing company.
Figa.
Yeah, they got them. That's just 2 this year, along with the new one that's up on the hill that overlooks Superior, but it has a Broomfield address. So that one's not open yet. I know they have all 3 of those just this year as new members. So just off the top of my head.
So, a question I have, I actually went out and pulled the tax returns for 4 other chambers of commerce in our area. And to be honest, our membership is pretty comparable to most of those other chambers. And now, I don't have the 2018 returns for everybody. I have, TJ was great and gave me your all's 2017, but I've got the 2017 renewals or tax returns for 3, 2018 for Lafayette, and 2016 for Broomfield. Broomfield is obviously much larger, but they're also drawing from a community of 72,000 people compared to us at 12,000. But one of the things that I see that all of these other organizations do is they generate a great deal of event program revenue. They go out and do other programs. You know, most of them are getting anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year. And it's obviously something that our chamber has not done yet. Has your board talked about that? And if you have, what have the conversations been? And what are the things holding you back from going out and being able to do those things to help sustain your revenue? So it's not just your members keeping you in business, but it's the community, because they're also supporting your programs and activities.
Actually, we've made big strides towards that. When I first got on the board of directors, every single one of our events was a red line event. We're now at either break even or making money. That doesn't happen in a slow pace in a community of our size, and with membership dollars being what they are. So I'm not on the board of directors for Broomfield, so I can't speak to what activities they've done and how they've been able to accelerate it into a bigger black line item for them. But for us, it was, you had to first change the mentality of the board, which we did. You then had to start changing the mentality of members, and we started incrementally increasing prices. But we've had to do that on a per event basis, and slow and steady is winning the race. But we haven't been able to make those strides immediately. Our annual dinner used to be a free event for all members. It was included in your membership. It's no longer. It's now a paid event. And this year we had our biggest, best attendance, and I would say one of the best events we've had since my membership. And each one of our events is tracking towards that. And along those lines, I don't know what everybody's doing Wednesday night. But if you're available, we would love to host you at our casino. It's been one of our marquee events each year. We're super excited about this year, and we're taking it to another level. And it's those kind of things that are hard to do in a revenue neutral situation. But we are making inroads on that as far as pricing goes, and we have been steadily increasing our pricing.
There's also an issue around space. There's not a lot of places in Superior to do. I mean, frankly, you know, I keep having to look at Broomfield locations, and our awards event has to happen in Lafayette, and you know, if we, God forbid, we're going to do a golf tournament again, we'd have to go to Louisville for the one choice there. So space is another issue too. I mean, there's only so much we can do at Sports Stable, right? So, that's part of the thing. But the priority this year was not to, for me, I will say, it was not to come in and try to launch some big, huge new event. It was to get the things we're currently doing solid. And then 2020, we can look at more things that will be bigger. But I agree. I mean, gosh, I wish we could just Peach Festival or something like that.
I keep sending you ideas.
I am really open to that, believe me.
If you want to send us the money to support this idea?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I work in Arvada, and they have one of the most active chambers for doing events that are engaging the entire community. It's not just, and I'm not insulting community, it's casino night because I sponsored it when I was running, and I've been, but they actually run topical conversations on issues of importance to the residents of the city of Arvada. They just ran one last week on affordable housing, and they had over 100 people, all of whom paid to attend. They made money off every single person who was there, even members paid to be there. So they hosted I think this week they're having a session with the school board candidates. And I know we're a small community, and we do the great event with the mayor, but there are other things where we could have topical conversations that I would like to encourage you to do that. they do it at lunchtime, probably not as practical here because we don't have the folks here. But maybe if we had them in the evenings and it was a small fee to attend or a dinner or something like that. And the ones they do in Arvada are really quite engaging. And you meet people. We have an opportunity to meet the businesses of the city of Arvada in sort of an informal way, or they can also exhibit. But we also have an opportunity to engage on subjects that are important to the city of Arvada.
With 2020 being an election year, we're looking at having a sort of a meet the chamber breakfast type of thing sometime next summer. It's not in any type of position where we're announcing it or we got it firmed up, but that's part of that whole moving toward. Part of what several of you have talked to me offline about is, I mentioned last time I was at that podium here for a meeting, I talked about how our chamber is in this transition between what they call in the chamber world a 3P chamber. I have to write it down all the time: parties, pageants, and parades. Versus,
God, you don't have any pageants.
Versus, yeah, not yet. We're looking at it as parades, pageants, and parties, to what they call a 3C chamber, which is what, if you asked Arvada or Boulder or Broomfield, whatever, they'd say, oh, we're 3C, and that is catalysts, conveners, and champions. So it's much more of the advocacy and the issues involvement type stuff. It's going to take us a little while to get there. But with the development, I mean, pretty much since I've come on, I've said to the board multiple times that we need to start taking the first steps toward that, and that the Community Affairs Committee is part of that. The Meet the Chamber, or whatever we end up calling it, next summer will be another step in that direction. And even just trying to engage the town at multiple levels, from committees to the trustees, is part of that plan, but it will take a while to. We will not be a 3C chamber very quickly. It's going to take a while because, frankly, our members really like the 3 Ps. They really like the casino nights, and they really like the 4th of July pancakes and all those kind of things. And those are important to the character of the chamber. So we don't want to leave behind the community connection that makes this so special, but we do have to start moving some of our activities more toward the 3 Cs.
And Sandra, can you tell me, where does the Arvada Chamber host such large events?
Well, they obviously host it at the Arvada Center.
Oh, we don't have any place.
You don't have
Yeah.
That does not mean you cannot host, I mean, that's also a community of 67,000 people, or a community of 12,000 people, so you don't need the Arvada Center. So, we've had events at Bell Flatirons, but, we could convene maybe some at the clubhouse at the Summit at Rock Creek. So I just want to push you to do more things to engage the rest of the community, because that then exposes our residents to your businesses. They have an opportunity to sit next to you and learn about your business. I mean, particularly when they're service businesses. We know about a pizza place, or we know about somebody that's got a Main Street shop, but we don't know about the businesses who may run out of a home, or they're across the river, across the bridge in Louisville. So we really want people to get to know the people who run these businesses, so they naturally go to them and see them as part of the community. So that, that serves a double-edged sword for the Arvada Chamber, because the community gets to know the businesses who are also supportive of their community. And so that's where I'm trying to push you to it not just be serving your own members, but how do you get the community involved so they want to participate and buy products from your members.
And are there any town issues that you can think of offhand?
Oh, I'm sure if you gave me 30 minutes, I could come up with issues that we could talk. Because there's always things that, we want to talk about as a community. I mean, we certainly talked as a board about affordable housing. It's something we might talk about. I mean, those are the kinds of things that I think you just put your head together and say, hey, what are the things that our residents are talking about and would like to know more about? I mean, it could be healthcare. It could be, as we have an aging population, what are some of the things that we face with an aging population in Boulder County? So those are the kinds of things that I think are just, maybe it's getting more sort of government officials, I don't want to say the word airport, but, that is a topic that's relevant to our community. So there's lots of topics like that I think you can bring people together.
The housing issue, the environmental issue, and the transportation issues are the things we have that we're taking baby steps toward for 2020. We've already started doing some good partnering with the environment, with the PACE group out of Boulder. So we're doing a lot of that. We do in cooperation with Louisville and Lafayette, because we have some real opportunities to, between the three small chambers, be able to bring enough people together to make it a worthwhile endeavor. So
Yeah, you want to bring people together, host a town hall on RTV, and people will come together because they have a lot of concerns about various things that are going on with RTD. So, not saying good or bad, but, people are concerned about the light rail not going in. So, transportation's another
Sandy, we
great
do
issue.
do 360 commuting every year as a multi-chamber event.
But you don't,
Well, we have-
I'm talking about hosting the community to talk about those things.
But we do
So-
have that anyone's invited to with 360 commuting, and we do it every summer with RTD, and it's us, Louisville, and Lafayette, where anyone can come, and it's a luncheon, and you get to hear what's happening on our corridor,
Right.
and about the
I've
trail
attended that.
system and stuff. And when, last year BBSD got a new superintendent, and the chamber hosted a breakfast with him here.
And that's great.
for
And
the
those are the
residents.
kinds of things
So,
that you want
I
to
mean,
do
there,
more of.
there are events, but again, for me, it comes back to where do we do these things, where do you have the space? Like the 360 commuting, we never get to host because we don't have an indoor space for it.
I understand.
So as much as we're talking about the financials tonight and the revenue, and I know TJ, you called out the accomplishment of making all the events revenue neutral, which is,
Where's it positive?
neutral to positive. Is that right? Are there some that are neutral? Maybe I misheard. All positive, even better. I think I just want to emphasize my preference. It's fantastic to have all the events be revenue positive, but I think you should continue to host some events that aren't revenue positive, that are neutral, that are just beneficial to the community. So I want to make sure, even as we're talking about the financials here, to me, one of the biggest strengths of our chamber is the fact that you are so community focused. When you're having like the leads groups, you're not saying, oh, here's a lead, that'll be $5 for doing that, Like I just want to make sure we don't get too caught up in the financials, and we do focus on the community is what brings Superior together. I think the chamber's done an amazing job with that, and I know you'll continue to do that. But I want to make sure that this conversation doesn't lead you off in the wrong direction to focus only on the money, because there's a lot more to it than that.
And I think that's a great point, and something that I've been struggling with, and I like to throw it out to the group, because we're clearly going to discuss the ask for the increased budget amount, which is not a small ask. It's an increase of 166%. And it's hard to measure the true benefit to the community. We have these events. It's not just the membership base, but when I look at your membership base, and I appreciate the numbers you gave us tonight, TJ, 64%, if I'm doing the math right, are businesses that are located outside Superior that we're not benefiting from tax dollars that they're raising. So when we look at our economic development budget and where do we put our precious dollars to help with our economic development piece, it helps sell me that this large ask, percentage-wise, is the right place for that. I think that's a missing piece for me that I still need a little bit of selling on.
So I'll tell you, as I mentioned earlier, I live in Erie, and my office is in Erie. What happens when there's a lot of competition for that chamber dollar? Right, as I was beginning my business, I didn't have the luxury of joining 5 chambers, which I would have loved to have done. So I chose the Superior Chamber. What happens as a member of the Superior Chamber, I do business with other members, and I come to Superior, and I spend my money here. So as we grow and we have to maybe reach outside of Superior to bring those members in, they're going to develop relationships with those businesses in Superior and come here and do business. And I think that's how, while you're not capturing that tax revenue from a Superior-based business, you're having that money come from Broomfield, from Lafayette, from Louisville, and they're spending their money in Superior. And that's where you're going to find the value in increasing the contribution, increasing the money, and we can go out and increase our membership base and develop those relationships with people that don't necessarily have a physical address in Superior.
I think that's a really excellent question and a valid concern. But I think that what's the missing component is the crossover. So taking my individual business as an example, as an illustration, we manage a lot of properties in Rock Creek. we have a lot of owners in Rock Creek. So we have kind of a double dip situation where you've got the owner of the investment real estate living in Rock Creek, paying money here, both from tax base and spending their dollars here, as well as the residents. Now, that's our specific business model.
Right.
But when you chat with different owners of businesses throughout the community, you join this chamber not as an extractor from the community, but as an investor in the community. And so I think that really, if you went through on a per person basis and talked to the different businesses, I think you'd be surprised at the revenue dollars that actually get drawn to the community as a result of the chamber, even for those folks that don't necessarily live or have no 027 address.
Right. So I know we need to be aware of the time here, so we should probably start thinking about closing comments. And I'll suggest I go first. You've sold me on the value of the chamber. You've sold me on sending messages to Matt and others for increased collaboration and new members of the community, whether or not they're residents or business owners, should be aware. I get the value that members of the community all get. What I would suggest, TJ, you do some thinking about is, following up on Ken's question, one of two, it's a huge financial ask. And while we can't, we can't make the decision now, it's not a noticed meeting. I think you could sense that some of us have some concerns, and I don't know where everybody is, so I'll just speak for myself. I have some concerns. And what I need to see is not just the value amongst yourselves, your members, but the value of the chamber to the entire community. What are those community amenities? And maybe it is more, parades and pageants, and what's the third P? Parties. Maybe it is, maybe that is what it is. I don't know. Podcast. But it either increased amenities, or you'll see that we spent a lot more money last year, and we're going to continue to spend money diversifying our tax dollars and spending real money on business development, trying to recruit those businesses. We've learned a lot over the last year, just the fact that while we were not doing very much, Broomfield and Louisville, we're doing quite a bit to woo businesses. Now that we've talked to some business, and they say, oh, we've been waiting for somebody from Superior to call. Nobody called. It's been an interesting experience for us. We need help, and we don't need help. We need diversification of that tax base, because the big boxes are going away. It's just, are they going away in 20 years? Are they going away in 5 years? We don't know. But they are going away, and this community will have a problem if we don't solve that. And this board has a commitment to helping solve that problem. We'd like to partner with you in solving that problem. I didn't hear anything tonight to think that you guys could help us solve that problem. And so, TJ, you might want to think about how you could help us solve that problem, because that's a major initiative. And if you could link, I'll just give you a hint, if you could link supporting our major initiative of diversifying the tax base, recruiting new businesses, to the value of the chamber, not just amongst yourselves for networking, but helping us attract new businesses. The Goldfish Fish School is a perfect example that Laura brought. We need 10 more. We probably need 20 more if we're going to be successful. I don't want 20 more Goldfish swim schools, but you know where I'm going. So anyway, that's my thought. Those two things I need to hear those two things. Either, what are we doing, and maybe it's, I'm not suggesting it's either or, maybe it's both, maybe it's one, but what are those increased amenities for the entire community, number two, and how could you help us diversify, increasing tax revenue?
We agreed, I'm sorry, we could definitely go on, but we do need to wrap up to stay on track. Thank you all for being here this evening. Great conversation, and we are going to be going right into the budget meeting, and would accept public comment if any of you want to deliver some closing thoughts or additional thoughts on this. That would be certainly an opportunity, and if you'd like to do the same, address these questions. But we do need to break down the tables and get ready.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.